Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Infinite Potential of Being Human, both the podcast and those of you who are watching on our YouTube channel. I want to use today's episode to get very practical. One of the things that I always say at the beginning of leading our Listening to Life program, which is our 4-day live, intensive, experiential program, meaning for those of you who want to take this work of maturation and go very, very deep to the root of what is running not just your story, but how your reality is continually being generated and keeping you in repeating patterns and loops. I facilitate a 4-day program called Listening to Life, and it takes 4 days of 10-hour days to be able to get deep enough, not just so that you're understanding it or having awareness about it, but actually we can get to the root of what is running your whole structure and system experientially, and that you can get to that root experientially and experience yourself having a break from it, a shift from it, not just awareness, but actual experiential shift in perception. And when you have that shift, it's such a profound shift that you start to see yourself completely differently, and then your reality starts appearing and unfolding differently, meaning the root from where you are looking and seeing and your reality is being generated shifts. It matures. It outgrows the attachment and the hooks that your past has had over running your system and how your world appears. So Listening to Life is that program. And the reason why I call it Listening to Life is because you cannot actually listen to life if all you can hear is your own mind. And most human beings don't even realize that all you're listening to is your own mind, which is made up of everything in your past. So most human beings do not realize that the narrative that is constantly running what you're listening to and replying to and responding to and reacting to and making decisions on, and therefore and that activates a certain set of emotional experiences and energetic experiences that feel very real in the body, is a mechanical record that's being played based on whatever you have absorbed into the memory bank of your nervous system and your brain from your past. Now, most human beings don't realize that that's what's running us. It's so mechanical. It's so normal that we think that continuous looping narrative that we keep reacting to and responding to, that comes with emotions and energy and texture and temperature, is who we are. We think that is real, and it's what, and the way it makes us experience our present and ourselves is real and happening in the moment. We don't realize that we're being run by the mind, the body mind, because you cannot separate the body from the mind. They're like two sides to one coin. Just because they're two different sides does not mean it's not still the same coin. So you cannot separate the body and the mind. The experience of emotions and temperature and texture and physical sensations happen in the body, and it's all connected and intricately wired in with the mental story that you know yourself as. And all of that is a mechanical survival mechanism. Now, most people don't realize that. Most people think that is who you are, that the little voice in your head and the emotions that flood your body that seem to have a familiar quality to them is just the way that you are. It's just who you are. So in listening to life, we have to make such a significant shift in the way that you see yourself and perceive yourself and experience yourself, so that you can see yourself differently. Meaning, what has been running you that you thought was who you are is the human condition. And it's not just running you, it's running the whole human species. Now, you cannot listen to life. You can't hear anything other than your own story if you don't realize that that's what's running you. So that's where we take people in our 4-day intensive program, Listening to Life. And one of the biggest shifts that is necessary if you really want to be able to start hearing life and anything other than the repetitive, looping, familiar running of your story, is to be able to shift where you're looking from to see what you're seeing and what you're experiencing from a more mature context. And that is what I want to use this episode for. I want to give you a very practical exercise so that you can start to make that shift on your own in your everyday life. And that, of course, is the point of that whole story. Is what I say in Listening to Life is, even though the work is very deep, even though the teachings that come through are sometimes very abstract, the intention and the point of this, of maturation, is for it to be very practical. Meaning, will it have a practical impact on how you're behaving and who you're being in your life, so that you can become more effective in your life, that you're less run by the past, that you're less run by survival, that you're less run by story, and you become much more in flow, much more, I suppose, effective in creating the kind of world and life that you want, that you become less in drama, in chaos, in collapse, in overwhelm, less run by your system, and more present and empowered and in the driving seat of the unfolding and the creation of your reality. And so this exercise that I'm going to give you today is a very, very deep, powerful exercise. It's a very simple one, but it's a very powerful one to shift the context from where you're looking and seeing a looping, repetitive problem that's happening in your life. So this is kind of like a deeper, more practical follow-on from, I think it's episode 8, where I speak about what creates results. So I think you should go back and listen to that episode. It's episode 7, what creates different results? Because now I'm going to go deeper in it. You know, most human beings think that the way to have better results in your life is to change the actions that you take. 100% of the people that I would ask the question to, what is the source of action, will tell me, what is the source of results, will tell me, it's action, Nikki. 100%. And whether that action is doing affirmations or writing in your journal, to changing the strategies that you're using in your business, to changing countries to try and have a more peaceful life, to changing boyfriends or girlfriends or partners to have a better relationship. And most people will say that the way to have different results in my life is I'm going to change my actions. And then, of course, that leaves much of the planet in a constant state of searching for the best action or the answer or content or something that I can do in order to get something different. I can have something different. And so you can see most of the planet are consumed with doing. There must be something that I can do that I haven't learned about yet that will change what I'm having and getting. Now, 100% of the people that I have worked with, facilitated and mentored and taught, will tell me that that seems to be an ineffective strategy. Meaning changing the actions certainly gives us improvement, meaning, well, this relationship isn't as shitty as the last one. Or, yes, it's nicer being on the beach than in the city, but I seem to still find myself experiencing the same suffering and problem that I was experiencing when I was in the city. Like, I'm on the beach, and yes, it's definitely more peaceful on my nervous system, and I certainly can rest more and move slower. But after the honeymoon phase of it is over, I seem to still find myself experiencing the same overwhelm and feeling not safe and like nobody's here for me, or aloneness that I felt when I was living in the city. Or in the new relationship, once the honeymoon phase is over, I seem to still find myself in an experience where I have to save them, or I have to be the light in their life, or that I feel unheard, or I feel unwanted, or I feel dismissed or unsatisfied. That wherever you go, you seem to bring your problem along with you. And changing the action certainly gives self-improvement. But self-improvement is not the same as freedom. And so changing our actions to get different results seems to be ineffective when it comes to human beings' relationship with reality. It certainly gives us improvement. It certainly gives us an improvement in our circumstances, but it doesn't give us a freedom from our circumstances. Meaning, we seem to still be looping. There's a magnetic pull to come back to a very familiar looping problem. And then we think, oh, then I have to do more affirmations because I feel unsafe again. Or then I have to work harder because I never feel like I have enough. Or then I have to push more or speak louder, or use my voice more because no one ever seems to hear me. But do you notice that wherever you experience your problem, you always seem to be there? So there is a connection between you, or who you think you are, and your problem. And most people will think that the reason why you're having the problem is because of something outside of you. It must be the money. It must be the partner. It must be the country. It must be the government. It must be my body. It must be, I don't know, the weather. Whatever it is, we keep thinking that something outside of us that seems to be separate and independent from us is what is causing the problem. So if I change what's outside of me, it will change the suffering that I have inside of me, but it never seems to change. So changing action seems to be ineffective, or doesn't go deep enough to give us fundamentally different results in our experience of our reality, in our world, in our life. And so what is it that does go deep enough, that changes that gives us our actions? And what I teach in episode 7 is that context is the source of our actions, meaning who is the one looking through your eyes, giving you the experience that you're having, that keeps repeating, that then drives your actions, that then gives you the results you're getting. Context. And of course, we can't see context. Context itself is a blind spot. It's invisible. We can't turn around fast enough to look through our own eyes to see who's looking through our eyes, giving us the perception of the world that we get. But context is what gives us the way the world appears to us, which then determines the actions we take, which then determines the 3D results we get. I'll give you a little example. I grew up in Hong Kong, and it was really normalized for me to grow up around language like qi and feng shui, and my mother would work with the energetic flow of the positioning of the plants and the kitchen and the toilet and the house, and she would not put mirrors in front of the bed because it meant that there would always be a third party inside the bedroom, and she wouldn't put plants in particular positions, and it would be absolutely tragedy if the toilet was positioned in the northwest corner of the house. Like, all this stuff was normal to me. Now, of course, I then 30 years later, I get married, and me and my ex-husband are house hunting, and he's from a little town by the coast in New Zealand, and I'm from Hong Kong, and we're looking for houses to move into as a family. And when we walk into the house, it's bizarre. Immediately, as soon as I open the door, what appears to me is a house where I can immediately see that the corner of the staircase is jutting out into the northwest side. And oh my goodness, the toilet is in the worst positioning. And the flow of the chi from the kitchen out the front door, well, that's just going to throw money away. Like, the whole house appears to me, given by the context from where I'm looking. And the context is the memory bank, is the body mind, is the nervous system and the brain. Now, of course, that's not at all what appears to my ex-husband. He doesn't even see what I see. And so we're then trying to decide, what is it? Is it a good house? Is it a bad house? I like it. He doesn't like it. I don't like it. He likes it. Which house is the real house? Which reality is the real reality? Neither, or both. The only reality that you get is the one that appears to you, given by the context from where you're looking. And the context from where human beings are predominantly looking is given by the body mind, the brain mind, and the nervous system, which is the past. So the past is what's looking through your eyes, giving you the world that you see, giving you the world that appears to you, and then your behavior is in correlation with the way the world appears. So if you grew up in a childhood where you did not feel safe, the world will appear to you given by that context. And then how on earth do you think that someone who has a world that appears constantly unsafe will behave? Well, their breath will constantly be held, and they will always experience and re-experience overwhelm and panic and unsafety. And then that determines behavior, which may lead you to behave in a very controlling way, in a protective way, and a tight way. And then how does 3D reality and the results of your world unfold if that's how you're behaving? So when the context from where we're looking is the past, and then that determines what appears to us, which then determines our behavior and our actions, and all of it is so mechanical and unconscious that we don't even know that that's what's running us. And then we keep having repetitive patterns and loops that happen in our life that seem to have some kind of familiarity to our past, but we don't know why, and we can't seem to get at it, no matter how much inner work we do and how much we have awareness around it and we learn about it and we use more techniques and more strategies. It doesn't seem to get to the root of it. Why is it that whenever I make money, I always end up not having enough again? Why is it that whenever I fall in love, I always end up, I don't know, feeling disappointed and unwanted and unsafe or not good enough? Why is it that everywhere I go, no matter what I do, my patterns are repeating? So the purpose of this episode is to give you one practical exercise that can help shift the blind spot that you may be in if you find yourself once again repeating a similar familiar pattern and loop, which is a paradox. It's a paradoxical loop, meaning no matter what you do, it doesn't seem to change it. In fact, it pulls you in it even deeper. No matter how much money you make, you seem to always end up feeling unsafe again. And then you have to push and force and overwork and drive yourself and you make more and then it doesn't work and you feel unsafe again. And that paradoxical loop, which is eating up the aliveness of your life and the power and the trust and the vitality within yourself. So it's having a great cost. So this is for those of you that want to walk yourself through a process while you're in the pattern. So you can break the blind spot of it. And then you have a choice. Then you have something to actually be responsible for that can then determine whether you're ready to change your actions and then show up and have different results. Okay. So if you find yourself in these repetitive paradoxical loops, and no matter what you do doesn't seem to change it, and everything in you is going to want to try and change what you're doing, because that's the addiction of human beings. We have become human doings when actually we're human beings, but we're not very good at being, are we? We keep wanting to do to change our life, but who we're being is determining our life. So we need to shift who we're being on a being level. So when you are in the problem, you've made money again and you have found yourself overspending and pulling yourself back into the same problem of not having enough, or you're in a relationship and your partner has rolled his eyes and you feel completely dismissed and unwanted and abandoned, and you're back in the same argument that you've always had and you're just looping and not getting anywhere. You are trying to get your mother's attention and once again she has put herself first and doesn't see you. Whatever it is, you are in something that has repeated many times in your life. So the first question is getting really honest with yourself that this is something that has been repeating in your life and you always seem to be there when it happens. And to be able to see that without blame, shame, or guilt. This is the step one of self-responsibility. Oh, damn it. I know right now all I want to do is divorce him, or all I want to do is make more money, or all I want to do is collapse and panic, and all I want to do is blame someone else. And I even want to blame myself. But the first step is to just be willing to see, I have certainly repeated this before and I have been here before. So I am going to take the first step and just stop for a moment and own that whenever this pattern repeats, I always seem to be there. So maybe it has something to do with me. And to be able to see that without blame, shame, or guilt. Step one. Step two, really owning and surrendering that even though I have had progress and I have had huge self-improvement or significant improvement, no matter what I do and I have done, doesn't seem to have freed me from this looping pattern. And even owning that feels like a failure, and I feel shame, and I feel like I don't even want to admit it because it's so confronting and it's so painful and vulnerable. But until I surrender to this, it's like you're just going to keep looping around it and doing the same thing. So step 2 is to even own, I have really tried many, many things. I've done 100 workshops. I've paid $1 million here. I have done thousands of affirmations and gratitude journals and whatever. And none of it has been wrong. I am not going to blame myself for it, but I am definitely still seeing a similar familiar looping pattern. So those are 2 kind of steps to take that are really about self-ownership and surrendering the fight, surrendering the resistance, surrendering the battle. And then we move into step 3. And this is a very practical exercise. So you're going to need to have a pen and paper. You need to write during this exercise. In step 3, I want you to write down on a piece of paper exactly how you experience yourself in this problem. Not how you experience the other, or the money, or the bank account, or your partner, which your mind is going to want to do because it's so addictive to want to focus on them or it rather than focus on me. Step 3, how do you experience yourself in this problem? Meaning, if you're in your marriage and you just keep looping around the same problem and pain and fight, how do I experience myself in this? I experience myself as not important, as always longing for them to hear me and understand me and get me, but it never comes. In fact, I experience myself trying so hard to get it, but never getting it. And then I experience myself in hopelessness and pain. And I experience myself as terrified to keep trying in case I'm gonna get in trouble, or I experience myself as such a worthless failure. That's what I mean, like writing exactly as honestly, radically honestly as you can. How do I experience myself in this pattern or problem? And then step 4 is to really look at what you have written, because seeing it and letting it in, when you see it on paper, it's actually easier and more confronting to see it than it is when you're looping in your own mind. So step 4 is to look at what you've written and read it out loud and go, my God, is that what's been running me? And really letting yourself feel it. Don't collapse into it, but feel it. Let it in. It's like step 4 is like a point of integration. So it's not just rational and conceptual. It's going in experientially, which is where we need it to shift something inside your perception and your relationship with this. So it's not just happening on a mental level. Looking back on my whole life, how much has this experience been present for me? And get really, really honest. Every time I've asked people this question, they will tell me that, shit, it's been my whole life. In fact, when I ask people, have you ever known yourself without this? They'll normally tell me no. It's kind of as long as you've known yourself. But it's been happening inside of you so mechanically that you didn't even realize what was happening. It was so normalized. And then you've been so focused on trying to fix and change it out here that you don't even see what's being continuously self-generated internally. So step 5 is really looking and getting honest at how much this has been present in your whole life. And if you want to journal about it, write down all the times. Oh my God, it was in my last marriage. And oh my God, it was even when I started that business. And oh my God, it was when I was at school and I was a teenager, and like it's everywhere. And now step 6. How familiar is this experience to how you felt and perceived yourself in your relationship with either your mother or your father? It's going to usually be one or the other. And you have to let yourself feel that. Wow, I didn't even realize that is identical to how I felt with my mother. Right. So now this step 7 is starting to really now bring out a blind spot that the past is looking through your eyes, meaning the same little one that looked at her own mother and was in a dynamic and a relationship with mama is the same one looking through your eyes right now. Step 8. Wow, how old am I in this? Who is the one looking through my eyes, giving me the reality I've been getting? Step 9. Am I ready to stop resisting this? When we can be with the past right here in the present, it unfreezes the past, meaning whatever is repeating and looping is looping because we are resisting it. And whatever you resist persists. So when you become conscious and present, and each stage of this process is shifting your state of consciousness, it's shifting your perception from where you're seeing yourself from. Step 9. Am I ready to stop resisting this experience of my past that is present here right now? And meaning I'm going to stop blaming my husband. I'm going to stop blaming the world. I'm going to stop blaming my bank account. I'm going to stop blaming my coach. I'm going to stop blaming myself, because I'm a human being and this is what runs human beings. You didn't do anything wrong. You just have not been educated and you have been in a blind spot. A human blind spot, might I add, not just a you blind spot. So step 9, this worthlessness, this longing for something to be met, to be seen, to be wanted. Wow, that was inside of me before I even got into this relationship. That was already there before I even started the job. That was already there before I even tried to make money. And then it just gets regenerated and regenerated and regenerated. Am I ready to stop resisting? Am I ready to be 100% responsible for this? And responsibility is ownership with no blame, shame, or guilt, meaning I will not blame myself and I will not blame anyone else. 100% responsible, meaning I am ready to take ownership and be powerful. Step 10, starting to look at all the ways in your life that this unconscious blind spot that you are now becoming so powerful and conscious to has driven your behavior. Oh, this is why I overwork and always panic. This is why I always shut my heart down and pull out of relationships. This is why I always pick fights before they might leave me. I see. Seeing who this story, this past, this frozen moment of your past has led you to be a certain way in your life, which has given you the results you've been getting. And when you look at all of that and you're willing to start being in this whole process, am I ready to start changing who I'm being? So going through all the 10 steps takes you to a place that you might have been able to shift the context enough that then gives you options to be and take different actions. If you're not resisting it, can you be with it? And if you're being with it, well, then you don't have to react to it. And then when you don't react to it, you may get choices on how to behave differently. And when you behave differently, you get different results. I think I want everybody to know that this is not a you problem. You have not been doing anything wrong. This is a human problem. It has been a human blind spot. And when you can shift who you have been being and where you've been seeing from, that is a form of maturing. That's a form of maturation, which then allows you to have a more mature relationship with how you perceive yourself in your world and how you then perceive what actions are available to you to then give you different results. That's how powerful you are. So I hope that this is helpful. And obviously this is not a one-step thing. This is a 10-part process that you can use for the rest of your life every day. And it's empowering. It's empowering. It's incredibly empowering. So if you have found this useful, then share it with anyone else that you think it would be beneficial to. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to this channel and write comments below. And if you want to spread it to as many people as you can, because if you are human, this relates to you. It's the best possible way we can make sure that this content and this teachings and this work gets spread to as far a wide and wider net as possible. So thank you all so much for listening and watching. And do go and re-watch episode 7, What Creates Results, because that'll give you the foundations of this episode and it will just deepen what I have been teaching here. And please do stay and watch the next video that's going to be coming. We're going to be re-releasing What is Maturation, which is our most downloaded episode. And it's just such a powerful foundation to be able to get a grasp on what's running us as a human species rather than what's wrong with you as an individual. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. This is The Infinite Potential of Being Human, and I am Nikki Clinch.